let's see here. I'm reading an interesting article about COVID and masks and shit. And it's talking about the kind of mask that they wear. COVID-19 so this is by the Atlantic. And Derek Thompson, who's not wearing a mask. Okay. So COVID-19 researchers have rightly extolled the virtues of masks, hailed the necessity of ventilation, and praised the salutary nature of outdoor activities. But another behavioral tactic hasn't received enough attention, in part because it makes itself known by its absence. The tactic is silence. Yet it is yes, it is finally time to talk in this pandemic about the importance of not talking in this pandemic. Right. So they enacted this pandemic while Trump was talking about the great economy and all the important things about the agenda and making America great again. So while he was talking about this, they were pushing masks, right? Because they wanted to shut down political conversation. Right, but let's read what they blame it on here, how they legitimize this. Okay. Every route of viral transmission would go down if we talked less or talked less loudly in public areas. Jose L. Jimenez, professor at the University of Colorado at Boulder, who studies disease transmission, told me this is just a very clear fact. It's not controversial. So, yeah. But what they're saying is that Trump was lying about the virus and Trump was lying about all these things. He lied about COVID and whatever. Said, oh, it'll go away, whatever. It's like, no, like the virus they're talking about is the truth. People talking loudly, protesting. They want the mask to silence you, to shut you up, because that's what it's really about. Because they found where the mask isn't covered as per se by the Constitution, right? So then they figured they would try to use masks to circumvent the Constitution. Very clever, liberals. We knew you weren't that stupid. So silence is golden as an antiviral strategy. And what they're and keep in mind now, the virus they're really talking about is what they call Trump's lies. Okay. The coronavirus seems to move primarily through viral particles that erupt from our faces when we sneeze, cough, talk, or sing. Some of these particles are heavy enough to splash on a nearby surface or fall quickly to the ground. Those are called large droplets. Oh, all technical with it, aren't you, Atlantic? Oh, aren't you? What's your name again? Freaking Derek Thompson's getting all technical on us, guys. Large droplets. They are largely only in comparison with the smaller globs that spray from our mouths and linger in the air in a swirling particle cloud. See that cloud? Delicious. These are called aerosols. Oh, technical. Viral particles hitch a ride out of our bodies on these droplets and aerosols. They travel through the air. Droplets for a few seconds, aerosols for several minutes. And can lodge in the noses, throats, and lungs of other people, thus conveyed by the free transit of our exhalations. The virus travels through a new host. The goal of COVID-19 public health guidance is to shut down this viral transit system. Good ventilation disperses aerosol clouds. Oh, so that's why they don't care about the mask being complete bullshit about viral contagion. Distancing reduces other people's vulnerability to these particles. Masks block them from our mouths and noses. But what if we tried to limit the production of these virus-setting particles before they even left our bodies? So hold them close to you, dummy. Hold them in close so you can get sick from them. You want to do that to yourself, that's your right, okay? It's my right not to, okay? Distancing reduces other people's vulnerability to these particles. Masks block them from our mouths and noses. But what if we try to limit the production of these virusated particles before they even left our bodies? That's where volume control comes in. Talking less, more quietly, or not at all limits the manufacture of both large droplets. Yeah, they want to shut you up. And aerosols. When you breathe a whisper, Trump won. The respiratory China made the virus for your chest. Your respiratory system doesn't emit large droplets. Jimenez told me that compared with yelling, quiet talking reduces aerosols by a factor of 5. Being completely silent reduces them by a factor of about 90. Okay. By a factor of about 50. That means talking quietly rather than yelling reduces risk of viral transmission by a degree comparable to properly wearing a mask. The truth is that if everybody stopped talking for a month or two, the pandemic would probably die off. Yeah, if they shut you up, right? If you let them shut you up. While still emphasizing the importance of distancing, he elaborated that without any close contact communication, it would be difficult for the virus to continue moving between people. It's unadvisable to test the most extreme versions of this thesis by forming a silent mosh pit or spitting in every direction when you walk down the street. So basically test the hypothesis by having no manners, or mosh pit. Jimenez is not the only scientist banging the drums on Shut Up Island. Yeah, shut up about Trump. Stop talking about Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Others agree that Others agree that a little bit of speech policing would go a long way to reducing viral transmission. Oh, wow. I think this explains certain people's behavior. Very well. Others agree that a little bit of speech policing could go a long way to reducing viral transmission. Donald K. Milton, a professor, they like that Donald, a professor at the University of Maryland School of Public Health, who has studied how surgical face masks can reduce viral spread, told me in an email that silence and quiet speaking are reasonable means of intervening to reduce COVID-19 transmission. One of the more curious international success stories of the pandemic is Japan. While much of the world emphasized the importance of testing and tracing, Japan initially had no mass testing and no sophisticated means of contact tracing. Yet, adjusted for population, the country currently has approximately 98% fewer COVID-19 deaths than the United States. Much credit has gone to its crystal clear public guidance to avoid the 3 C's: closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact settings, including close-range conversations. That explains some people's behavior. That third C deserves more amplification. Even after its transit ridership bounced back to normal, Japan reported no outbreaks until, in a way. Yeah, it definitely explains some people's behavior, though. No outbreaks on Tokyo's famously crowded subways. The city's trains are typically well ventilated, and Japanese people have had decades of practice wearing masks. But something else is at work here. The Japanese commuters have an informal rule to avoid talking loudly on trains, if at all. So while New York City spends $15 million a month blasting its subways with antimicrobial sprays, the Japanese keep their trains safe with a cheaper tactic: masking and shutting up. Oh, so they don't want you to have conversations with people on the train. That's what it's all about. If Americans imported Japan's subway rules to our public life, we might be able to accelerate our return to a more muted form of society. Several times in the past few weeks, I've heard people talking loudly on their cell phones in grocery stores and pharmacies. Yeah, that's life. Sometimes with their masks pushed aside from their mouths to improve the clarity of their diction. Such behavior displays a total... So they want you to not be understood. They want you to talk low so people can't hear... Like, what the fuck? They want you to shut up. I don't want to shut up. I have things to say. I don't appreciate your rudeness. Trying to get me to shut up. If you have things to say, you want to speak up, right? But if I had something to say, you want me to wear a mask. I want you to wear a mask so I can speak when I want to. I'm not saying I'll scream. I'm not wearing no mask. It's bullshit. If you feel if you feel like you want to wear a mask, okay, wear a mask. Well, if you don't want to hear people talking loudly on their cell phones, maybe you should ask them to simmer down respectfully and have some respect. You might want to do those rules, but not everyone does. You're a fascist. That's your way of dealing. That's just these people's way of dealing with their loud talking. Here's one solution. Library rules for America. Every time you walked into a school, a medical clinic, a drugstore, a barbershop, an office, an airplane, a train, or a government building, you should see a sign that read, "Hush for your health," or "Make good choices." Lower your voice, or keep it quiet and carry on. Um, I think they're mainly just bitching and moaning about people having like conversations that are energetic and stuff. Like you have to whisper about everything; it loses its context. You know, like you don't get the whole hint if you're whispering about everything. All right. So this is all about speech fascism. Right? People aren't allowed to speak up. Be heard, son. Library rules for America. Yeah, okay. Um in terms of the science, I'm convinced that something like this library rule would reduce all modes of viral transmission, Jimenez told me. Science and guidance can only do so much. The backlash on mass, some Americans, mostly conservative men, suggest that a certain segment of the population might rebel against library rules by, say, filming videos of themselves purposefully yelling into a barista's face. No, no. Only idiots do that, okay? I have no reason to go up and yell in a barista's face, and for all the people that have attacked me for not wearing a mask over the past year, and they continue to, um, there's no call for yelling. There's no call for foaming at the mouth. You can express yourself perfectly well with a perfectly normal voice and tell these people that they suck. They are fascists and they suck. Okay? YouTube censored that. You know, whatever. You're gonna, whatever. You people suck. In a calm, quiet, cool, collected voice, you people that push this mask suck. Majorly. Okay? All of us have to put up with your bullshit on account of a few people that talk loud. People are going to talk loud sometimes. You want to make it so people can never talk loud again, but you can't modify the human body because people were made to talk loud sometimes. Let people be people. Take off the damn mask. It's bullshit. You people are bullshit. Okay? Now, transmit that virus, okay? You people with this mask are bullshit. Okay? You just want people to shut up and stop talking about shit and just like shit goes on. You want to talk about it. Oh, the signs and guidance can only do so much. The backlash to mass, yeah, because we don't give a shit about your mass and your signs and your guidance. That's your guidance. Okay? It's guidance. Okay? We have freedom of choice to reject your guidance. Okay? Suggest that a certain segment of the population might rebel against library rules by, say, filming videos of themselves purposely yelling into barista's face. Yeah, some dumbasses might do that. Some stupid ass people might do that. And they're, you know, that maybe it's because they're being harassed by masketeers. Maybe it's because masketeers are like attacking them. They're not yelling back or anything. They're just being attacked by Musketeers. They're talking back calmly, letting the people know we don't wear masks, and they're still being attacked. Their freedom of will is still being infringed upon by these fascists, these COVID-19 fascists, these Musketeer fascists. Most Americans, what we learned from the mask experience, they're speaking of this in past tense, is that many Americans don't like being told what to do if they don't understand why it's necessary. Jimenez said, people need to understand that this virus is in the air and that they breathe out 10 times more virus when they are shouting or speaking loudly. Okay, so we understand that. Stop attacking us. Okay? Literally, just stop attacking us. You're rude, disgusting people. You spread your virus of rudeness everywhere you go. Every time we try to do something that's like a function in our lives, you and your rude, virus spreading, TDS infested, selfish ass just comes along and spreads your virus of rudeness. Okay? Most Americans aren't used to thinking about any auditory dimension of this pandemic. For example, online shame mongers often post pictures of ostensibly crowded beaches. The snapshots don't capture several important factors, such as how long people are standing right next to one another. Crucially, they don't tell us anything about sound. Are these sunbathers under a big umbrella shouting at each other about beach decorum or quietly immersed in a book? In a plague spread commonly through the air, the soundscape of the interactions is as important as the photo image of our behavior. The superior focus on exhalation science and aerosols might help people understand what environments are surprisingly safe or surprisingly risky. In some cities, restaurants have recovered faster than movie theaters, but movie theaters with spaced out seating, universal mask wearing, and complete silence might be less risky than indoor restaurants. Where diners are talking and chewing without masks, I can't name a movie theater outbreak in the contact tracing literature, Jimenez said, while also stressing about movie theaters cannot be considered risk-free given that they are poorly ventilated indoor spaces where people spend several consecutive hours. I can tell you that theaters don't seem nearly as dangerous as a loud restaurant or bar where people have to speak loudly to be heard. Okay, so I don't have much more time on this recording here. So basically they want people to shut up. We can intervene at every stage in this story with masks to block the virus, social distancing to separate the crowd, and ventilation to disperse the aerosols. But why would we ignore the founding event, which is the minting of the viral bullet? Spare your voice, save a life. So they want you to shut up so that you don't hurt people's feelings, basically. Basically, aside from the spraying and stuff, all this stuff came about with Trump. They don't want you to speak about certain shit. They don't want you to speak, period. They want to shut you up, and they want to shut up too. I'm all for like no noise pollution, but these people have polluted this country with their rudeness.